from how much closer to each other the other schools seem in many of the categories. And I'm just wondering what you think accounts for that at one of our schools. And in some cases, I can see that. I think Gutierrez was a little bit lower than the other schools as well in grade 5. But overall, the numbers, the percentages in that chart that stand out to me are Hugh Cole. And so if overall we can look at this and say this is a transition year from one test to another, I guess I'm asking why then is Hugh Cole seemingly so much lower? And I don't mean to put you on the spot as like a negative, but it's worth asking so that we can.
It's a very good question. It's been a discussion at a district level and also at UCole. Mary, do you want to address it? Because I know that you've worked with UCole.
I'd like Cindy and Renee to address it, but I think there's more than one factor, more than one reason. But looking at released items, because we have to look at performance and what students actually did, we noticed that in third grade, pretty much third grade is performing right along with the rest of the third grades in the district, give or take. But at fourth and fifth grade, there was clearly, in parts of the released items, that they performed lower. In writing, in the constructive responses, the essay components. And that is work that can be done. That's work that, working collaboratively with teachers, we can really kind of do the analysis of those items, identify the students who are not performing at proficiency. The other thing that we noted is that when you look at that nearly meeting, that is a very broad band. So there are students who are maybe 5 points away, 8 points away, and we wonder, in the reading part, they seem to do much better than that writing. So those are students that we can provide lessons, interventions, and really work with them to kind of ramp them up. But the fact of the matter is that fourth and fifth grade at UCole did significantly lower than the other three elementaries. I don't know if you want to add, but we're working on it. We've got a great team from teachers and administration.
And I think there were a lot of factors that were contributing last year to our assessment. I know our students worked really hard. I think we noted while we were observing the students taking the assessment that they really did their best. They tried really hard. There were many of them that were working well past the allotted time. They had extended time, so they were working really hard on that. I think one of the things is that we have to look at our vertical alignment, our fidelity to the instructional programs that we have. One of the things we were talking about is how do we know that there's fidelity to our programs, is we've been doing a lot of walkthroughs, and one of the things that we're noting this year is that we're seeing, for example, the Foundations program this year is being done with fidelity. When I walk into every second grade class, they're pretty much in the same scope and sequence, they're in the same spot, they're working on the same concepts at a higher level. And so I think that's the movement that we're making. I think we met with our math coaches, we met with Natasha about what kind of tutoring we want to do this year. One of the things that I've noted is, and I've long focused on this in my career, is that a lot of times if a student's not proficient on something, they may on their benchmark testing be okay, and they might pass that, but they might not be proficient on a standard. But we move on. That student is still not proficient in something, so there's like a missing block or a brick in the wall of their learning. And if we continue to go in that way, when they get to these higher level concepts and ideas, they're not able to do it because they don't have some gaps in their learning. One of the things I'm working with our technology guy, Tom Driscoll, and our personalized learning is how that we can have like a heat map for our students. So I know exactly what standards they don't know, and work with our coaches to work focused on that standard, on that skill, so that we're not just throwing things up against the wall and seeing what sticks, but really being focused on what an individual child needs to be working on. And as Mary mentioned, we had a great number of those students that I called right on that bubble or cusp. It's like 5 or 10 points on either side of the cusp score. Some of those kids that are proficient fall easily onto that other side, and then some of our kids get easily 2 points or 3 points. What are they missing? We really need to address that. And it was really, we met with our math coaches and our ELA coach to be very specific on that. So we're looking for fidelity to our instructional programs, and that's our job to ensure that. And I think just getting those gaps filled, and that's one of the things that we need to be doing, and we might not be able to do.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to see that the aim is improvement, right? Like getting those kids who are right on the line dipped over. You can see that that's an opportunity.
And one of the, I'm not sure if, one of the areas that we were weaker in, one of our weaknesses were the growth of our students with special needs in grades 4 and 5. And when you look at that, it's really just a handful of students, maybe 11 students. So we're able to drill down to those 11 students and work with, especially the special educators, and what's that intervention, and do we put another layer of intervention, and what do they need to work on. We are adding through a WEF grant Noetic Math, which is addressing some of our higher learners, because one of the indicators is how many students exceed the standard. We had a student who had a perfect score in both ELA and math, and several students who had perfect scores in ELA. So how do we get those high-end learners to even excel? So it's not just the students that are down here increasing our average standard score for our school. So, there's certain things we're working on and that we have work to do. When I looked at the state and where Nicole fell, there was a very small number of schools in the state that were 5s and 4s, and very small number of schools that were even 3s. And, schools that I know that have a similar demographics as Nicole, they were 3s. And so I think we're all where we need to work, and I don't think it's a secret, the struggles we have with some of our behavioral issues that we're addressing with our behavior specialists, with our red zone, with our initiative in responsive classroom. So a lot of these things just have to come together for us.
Well, when you're looking at a chart like this, you have to ask because it stands out.
Yes,
but I also understand when you're considering that these are supposed to measure how a school is doing in theory and where improvement is needed, what's actually happening is you're looking at a comparison of schools, which I think can be dangerous because what we really want to do is look at each individual school and see where we need to improve. And I think maybe when, at the beginning of these standardized tests, that was really the idea, right? That we would look at schools and see where we needed to improve so that students could succeed. And, I think sometimes at this point, we're using stars. I mean, I don't, it's very, like you're breaking down the numbers for me and saying, okay, well, this many kids were on the line. And there's a lot more to the picture than 1 through 5 stars. And so I guess I'm just making a statement that I think that can be a difficult measure. Yeah.
I want to echo, I think, the last point that Erin made about the discussion of sort of the cutoffs between partially meeting expectations and meeting expectations. It's an informed, I suppose, arbitrary line, but it's nevertheless somewhat arbitrary. It's wherever that line is. And on any given day, students on either side of the line might be on one side or the other if you took the test 3 days later, or depending on how they slept the night before or whatever happened. So another sort of echoing point around the idea that the scores are not the end-all be-all of how our schools are doing. I would say it sounds to me, from listening, particularly that you weren't terribly surprised by what the results were, but that you knew where you were working, you were already working on the things that needed to be worked on. I had just one clarifying question, and I don't know if anybody can answer it, but it was something that Ms. Almeida said. That you were looking at released items. Are those actual responses from students that you got to
Yes.
questions?
Yes, we can look at individual students and each of those released items. Yes, we can look at, of those selected released items, there's about 3 essays or constructive responses that involve both writing, and I was going to get into that a little bit in my piece. But those pieces are by individual students, so we can really drill down, teachers can drill down, we as a team can really look at how those students responded both in reading and writing and language, and identify what we don't have this year that we have had in the past is the response that the student gave. They were unable, they're working on that for next year. But previously with other assessments, let's say if it was a multiple choice assessment and the student gave C as opposed to A, then we would know that. So we could do some analysis of misconceptions. Why did they misinterpret this question? Why did they select this question? All we have this year is they got it correct or they didn't get it correct. But not getting it correct gives us a great deal to work with in terms of here are the major areas by grade that, do we address these? I think Mrs. Santa had said earlier that level of practice, but have they mastered that? Or we move on because the curriculum is broad, and maybe we need to prioritize and focus on those specific areas that students really need support in.
Thanks for the presentation. I have a question about the actual programs that we're using. Are we 100% confident that iReady and STARS are really going to get us to that next level? And I'm just looking ahead, sorry, to the fall and the spring performance. And as a parent, I've been able to have kind of firsthand knowledge on iReady and STARS. So I just want to make sure that we're not investing in a program that isn't going to get us to that next level. And we're 100% sure this is really the program that we should be using for our students.
So if I could just clarify, iReady is an online assessment, and then it does have a tutorial piece that goes along with it, but our core math program is called Ready Math.
Right.
And it's one of the top rated in the country. If you go onto the website that's called Ed Reports, they've ranked and evaluated all of the math curriculum and ELA curriculum, and Ready Math is one of the top in the country.
So when we look at the percentages of the end of year for Park versus the actual of RICAS, we have 44% on 5th grade across the board, and then we look at the fall and spring where it looks like if you look at 3rd grade, 59% were proficient. So
you're in the math section?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So if you don't mind, we can get there, if I can just get through the RICAS piece, and then we'll get there, and I will address that question. And STAR also is just a screening assessment that we use. It's not a program, it's not instructional. So we'll get there, and I'll be sure to address that. Do you have anything else?
Before you get started, I'm so sorry, Adam's just has to take care of that order of business.
I'd like to move that we, as noting the time, that we suspend the policy requiring all meetings to end by 10 p.m. so that we continue this important.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No. We all need to, yeah.
We know what that time's wrong, right?
It's 10 minutes to 10 p.m.
It's not, yeah, no, that's it.
9:51.
That's good.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
You can, with the markers. There's a clock.
of all, we have data days coming up, and our coaches help us with our data days, with our mid-year data that the assessments are occurring right now. And what we're doing with that, as we do each time, is we make sure that all students who require RTI are receiving that, and we'll be looking not only at the district universal screening results, but also the RICAS data to make sure that all our kiddos are getting the help that they need through RTI and other models. And then one thing that Mary mentioned is the constructed responses, which are the written responses to text. And there's a resource that we're looking to purchase. It's cheap. It's $25 for each teacher. We're looking to get that we have our own funding to do that. But we're looking to get a book from Nancy Boyles. It has graphic organizers and paragraph frames that are every curriculum strand, and it's she's a university professor from Connecticut, but it has every curriculum strand with the scaffolded support that they would need to be successful in these constructed responses. So looking to kind of get that in the hands of every teacher. Thank you.
All right, now that we've got the RICAS format down, we will.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Of course. Is this a multiple choice test?
It's multiple choice and short answer.
Does anybody teach the students how to take a multiple choice test?
Yes.
We are working on that.
Because, I mean, I talk with a very intelligent person that always said, when in doubt, pick D. No. You do know that the kids don't know that. The kids are going to pick an A here, a B here, a C here, a B here. But if you always pick the same letter, you got 1 in 4 chances of getting it right. All right? So, this is right here. Right? But yeah, but some kids do all that kind of stuff. But and the other thing is, I mean, you have to tell these students that when you have a multiple choice test, you should be able to eliminate a couple of the answers and then guess other things. Well, I don't know if we teach them that. That's the thing. You know, I just want to make sure that that is brought out to them. We don't just give it to them cold and say, okay, because in the classroom they're not taking multiple choice tests now.
They do at some levels. I know my daughter was in 5th grade.
You teach them how to do it?
Yeah, and it is that, and even when I go over homework with her at home and she has multiple choice, we do that process of elimination. Well, could it be this one? No. So.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? And I'm sorry, this is not what you're talking about. Okay? Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I just have to ask this question. We have Chromebooks, is that correct for the children? Do we use Go Guardian?
No, we've discussed it, but no, we don't use that.
I'd like the administrators to take a look at that, please. Thank you. Sorry about that.
We ready for math?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the slide that I have up here is just an overview of what's assessed on the RICAS math assessment. It's broken down by grades 3 to 5 and grades 6 through 8. The format for the math assessment is similar. It's 2 sessions in grades 3 through 8, 90 minutes per session, and the questions are multiple choice and short answer. In grades 3 through 6, there's no calculator use. That's new, and part of it we're allowed to use a calculator for some problems. In grades 7 and 8, they can only use a calculator on one portion of the test. Here's just a quick snapshot of Bristol Warren's performance as compared to the state. In Rhode Island, 27% of students met or exceeded the expectations. In Bristol Warren, it was 40% of students that met or exceeded. And same as with the ELA, now I'll break it down a little bit further for you. Here's a snapshot by grade level. And again, I've included Rhode Island and Massachusetts there for you. Here's the slide that also shows what percentage of students were at each level as far as not meeting, nearly meeting, and exceeding. And I'll show you the next slide, which has nice big numbers that are much easier to read. And if I'm going too fast, let me know. Okay. The next slide is by school, and I want to point out that Rockwell School, grade 3, was #1 in the state for the highest grades. So again, when we look at our overall performance, we are competitive with many of the other districts and have exceeded some of the higher performing districts that we typically look at. So that was achievement. Now we switch over to growth. And I want to highlight Gutierrez and share that grade 4, if you'll notice, only 6% of students had low growth and 64% had high growth. And again, one of the factors that we see over at Gutierrez is high level of teacher collaboration around strong instructional practice. So they've really made it a focus, and I think that we're seeing the results of their efforts here. Here are the high school results for PSAT and SAT. And again, it should be noted that our students performed higher on PSAT than on SAT. So that's the end of the RICAS data related to math. The next few slides that we have are for Ms. Anderson to talk about the approach to intervention related to math and ELA. So,
good evening. For those of you who have not met me, my name is Leslie Anderson. I'm the Director of Pupil Personnel Services for the district, and I have been in this position for about 14 years now. But we've been with the district for 22 years. So, let's see, next slide. So what do we do when we know students are in need of support? I will briefly talk a little bit about our intervention system, which we have developed over the course of the last 5 or 6 years with great scrutiny at a national level. And we talk about a multi-tiered system of support for all students, so that when we approach student learning, whether a student is high achieving, low achieving, in need of intervention, that we are able to identify in a very systematic way how to intervene with a student. We used database decision making. We require effective leadership in decision making for students and instruction and intervention, and we also require or engage in meaningful family involvement as well. Some of you have seen my presentation with regard to database